What's up, guys, and welcome back to a conversation with John. We are back in this thing, and today we are talking about episode 5 of All Her Fault. This episode was jam packed, a lot of shit went down in episode 5. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, like I said, episode 5 was jam packed. We had a lot of shit going on. So, first off, we started off with Detective Alcaraz came to the house, right? And he's just updating the family on kind of giving them updates of what's happening with the case. As we learned from last episode that they found a body in the lake, so he's letting them know that the body was in the lake, and it appeared to be Kyle. And he had died from a gunshot wound to the back to the head. So they're like they did yeah, the head died to the gunshot wound to the back of the head. So while they were there, they found this stuffed animal, Mr. Chips, Milo's little monkey. And Detective Alcaraz was asking, like, okay, well, did he bring this to school with him? And I think either Marissa or Peter was like, no, he didn't bring it to school with him. So it's just like, okay, so when was the last time that y'all saw Mr. Chips then? If he didn't bring it to school, then how did it get there? Um, and it was like, well, when is the last time y'all saw Mr. Chips? And and they were like, well, it was Easter weekend. And being as though it was Easter weekend, that was even before they had hired Anna. So it was like, well, if if Carrie had Mr. Chips with Milo, and it was before they had even hired Anna, she's been in y'all's lives and she's met Milo even before then. So she was there Easter weekend some kind of way. And for Easter weekend they had went to this ranch. And they were like, well, did anybody else come there to the ranch or anything like that? And I think it was Marissa that said, well, no, it was just the five of us that was there. Nobody else came. I mean, he's asking, well, did y'all get food delivered or something like that? They were like, no, the food was already there when they got there. So they didn't have any food or anything like that. So now they're trying to figure out, like, well, when was she around? And he was like, well, when is the last time y'all saw him? And I think it was like Saturday night or something like that. So by Sunday morning, Mr. Chips wasn't there anymore. So Detective Alcaraz ends up leaving, and the family just basically starts arguing. Like, okay, we've got to figure out how this happened. Oh, he asked, well, who else was there? And I think Marissa said, like, it was just us five there. So Detective Alcaraz leaves, and they're trying to figure out who's to blame as to how Carrie got Mr. Chips. Was somebody else there? Did they have a visitor or anything like that? Did somebody have a visitor? So Peter immediately starts looking side eyeing Leah. And he was like, well, that was around the same time that you had got out of rehab. And Colin immediately comes to her defense. And it's just like, hold on, player, don't be talking to her like that. Like, and Peter is playing stupid, like he don't know what he's talking about. He's like, well, yeah, you know what you're doing. Like the way that you're talking to her and asking her questions, Colin Peep's game is just like you acting weird. Like, why you being weird to me? Like that kind of energy. Like you're acting weird and you're calling. And so Colin calls him out. And so they continue to argue and continue to argue. And Marissa remembers it's like, well, Colin, Leah, and Brian, y'all went to an art gallery in town for Leah's friend. And they was like, well, yeah, we did. It was like, well, did y'all invite anybody else over, anything like that? And it was like, no. It was like, no. And so everybody continues to keep arguing. And so at this moment, Marissa is just like basically had enough. Like, we gonna figure this out, but we can't keep arguing to figure it out. So Marissa's like tells Peter, like, because she notices there's a stain on the couch. She's like, well, go to the store and get some upholstery cleaner. And she makes everybody else go home because they get on her fucking nerves. Basically, she trying to find her son, and all these motherfuckers want to do is argue. Like, get the fuck out of my house. Basically, that was the type of energy that she was on. So everybody leaves. Marissa's there by herself, and at the same time, um, you have Jenny pulls up. And so Jenny's on the phone with Archie, and Archie is like, okay, so when are you gonna come back home? Are you giving Jacob his bath tonight, or am I still on like daddy duty? And Jenny is like, well, I'm here to help Marissa for the interview or whatever. And she's like, well, why is it that every time you're basically in charge of Jacob, you're always so ready to be free? You're always asking when I'm going to come or whatever. You're so ready to be free. Because remember when it was he needed to watch Jacob, even to go pick up Jacob for when she had that pitch meeting. He didn't want to do it because he had to go do quiz ball, whatever the fuck he was doing. Or when he finally agreed to watch Jacob that night when she got the promotion. I don't know if I said this in the last video. He was just like bitching, like basically complaining about everything he had to do with Jacob today. And so she's like expressing how frustrated she is about him always wanting free time. And he was like, well, I mean, I need my free time just like you need your free time. And she was like, well, my free time includes going to go get groceries and running errands. Your freedom is like you being with your friends and other shit like that. And he's like, well, a big part of who I am is I need space and freedom. That's even though we do have a child. That's what you liked about me before. And I don't expect to become a new person, even though we do have a child. And Jenny's like, well, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna try better and try harder or whatever. And at this point, I was kind of pissed with Jenny. It's like, bitch, snap the fuck out of it. Divorce this man, please. Because what you mean you don't need to become a new person now that you have a child? He is so very selfish and basically putting everything on her to basically handle everything. Like he was blaming her when blaming her for the not going over Carrie's references or not realizing that those references are fake. And like Detective Alvarez asked him, like, well, when you called him, did you notice that anything was wrong? He was like, no, that's Jenny's department. So he just puts everything off on Jenny, and he's basically a sorry ass piece of shit, and he don't do nothing. But it's also just like, Archie, the life that y'all live would not be possible without Jenny. The house that y'all live in would not be possible without Jenny. You are a high school physics teacher. Teachers don't make very much money. So everything that y'all got going on is because of Jenny. So you might want to give her a little bit of respect and help her out a little bit with something, because your ass ain't worth a motherfucking damn by your goddamn self. And the fact that you sitting here apologizing to him, Jenny, grow a fucking backbone. Lead this goddamn man here. You are already a single parent as it is. So shit, what the fuck you need his ass for? But anywho's, so Jenny goes into house and she's talking to Marissa or whatever, and she what happened? She's talking to Jenny, right? And they're like, because the Real Insight, that's what it's called. It's like a news organization. They're coming to interview them. So Jenny's just there. The interview's supposed to be at 8, and she got out of her car at 6:14. And so they're supposed to be coming at 8. So they got a little while before the Real Insight was to come. And so Marissa and Jenny are just talking or whatever. And she's like, okay, part of the interview is they're going to ask her questions about Milo. And one of the questions is like, what's your favorite thing about Milo? And Marissa's like, oh, I haven't even had time to finish completing all these questions. It's just, I don't want to think about my favorite thing about him because it's going to make me break down and cry. And Jenny goes to comfort her. It's just like, well, you don't have to think about that. You already know the answer to that. And so as they're talking, Jenny's like, Marissa's like, I just need to keep myself occupied. I need to find something to do to keep myself busy. And she's like, well, I need to clean the couch. And Jenny's like, well, I'll help you. She's like, are you seriously gonna help me clean my couch? She's like, yeah. She's like, well, I need to can we clean the whole thing? And she's like, yeah. So then Marissa gets a call from the Lemon Drop Gallery, which is the gallery that the gallery that Leah, Brian, and Colin had went to that night. And so she had previously called him earlier, like right after everybody had left, just to kind of see what time what times their operations were on Easter weekend, just to kind of get an idea of where everybody else and what was going on. So they called her back and told her that they are open from 10 to 2. And then she's like, well, she realizes that Brian, Leah, and Colin didn't actually leave until like before dark. So she knew that some shit was wrong. So she immediately goes to Brian's to the pool house, we're gonna say, to confront Brian. And it's just like, where the fuck was y'all at? You told me that y'all all went to this gallery, but I know y'all didn't go to the gallery because they just called me. And so she's like, Brian, where y'all was at? And so Brian was like, okay, well, Leah and Colin took me to this adult living place because I mean he's disabled, but he's a grown ass man and he wants to find his independence. And she was like, "Well, why you didn't tell me that?" And he's like, "Well, how could I? If I told you that, then you would have told Peter, and it wouldn't have happened." Peter has this kink of wanting to be needed and whatnot. Um, I'm just gonna say it's a kink because he overly wants to be needed, and I wouldn't have been able to do it. Like I need to find some independence and be on my own, as a fucking grown ass man. So at the same time, while that's happening, Peter finally comes back, and it's just him and Jenny in the living room. And Jenny's like, "Well, I've apologized to Marissa 100 times about everything that's happened, and I realized that I never apologized to you, so I just wanted to apologize to you." And the way that Peter responds, it's like he's very mean and kind of aggressive towards Jenny, and it's just like I don't like the way that he was talking to her. He's like, "Well, when Milo comes back, he's not going to be the same before, and he doesn't know how this is going to affect him and Marissa, how they're going to recover from this. He's going to try to forgive Jenny, but he's not just there yet, and he feels like it's best that she leaves, and he wants to help Marissa with the couch, so because she needs him at this point in time. It's almost like he's trying to make her the scapegoat for the kidnapping for Milo because I feel like he got something to do with it. That's what it's giving, the energy that he's putting off. So Jenny leaves, and so Peter starts taking the cushions off the couch and starts trying to clean the couch. And so wait, what happened? Yeah, he starts trying to clean the couch. And so Marissa comes back in and she's like, "Where's Jenny?" He was like, "Well, I sent her home." And she's like, "Well, why? That wasn't your place to do that." He was like, "Well, because I know that you need me and I want to be here for you or whatever." And so then they get to talking about the interview. And she was like, "Well, have you looked at the questions for the interview?" And he's like, "No." "What you mean you never looked at any of the questions? Like you want to be needed so bad, but you're not where you needed to be when you are needed. You needed to look at those questions." And she was like, "Well, one of the questions is, what is your favorite thing about Milo?" And he's like, well, his favorite thing is he loves when Milo has nightmares and he's able to come in his room and talk to him till he goes back to sleep. He needs to be, he goes back to sleep. Like I said, Peter has this kink of needing to be needed. And it's very weird because who says that their favorite thing about their kid is the fact that they have nightmares and that's when they can talk to them? Like that is fucking crazy. So it just, I don't know. It's just after that, not Brian, Peter ends up leaving and going to Brian's house to start harassing his ass. He gets in there and starts talking about the food that Brian's eating. He got some cereals and stuff in there talking about you need to start eating some real food and shit like that. And so he ends up making him some soup. And Peter is like, well, what do you think that a 5-year-old will remember? And it's almost like in my opinion, he's asking that, like, again, like he's guilty. Like, what do you think a 5-year-old will remember about him being taken and all the parts of it? Because something could connect me to the story. That's the kind of way that I was getting from that. But he was like, he doesn't really know. He doesn't remember a whole lot from when he was 5. And Brian was like, I never really thought about it before, but it kind of reminds me of my accident. And they were talking about the accident or whatever, and Peter was like, yeah, you were running around and I was in the kitchen, and Brian was like, well, yeah, you were the first person that came to me. He was like, yeah. And then I got mom. And so they just keep talking about the accident or whatever. And he's like, he tells Brian that he needs to take his medicine. And then so he goes into the medicine cabinet to get Brian's medicine. And he's like, who got you a refill on your medicine? And then Brian is like, well, Leah did. And so he makes this face. So at the same time, while that's happening, Colin comes back and him and Marissa is talking. And Marissa is like, so you, Leah, and Brian went to the art gallery, right? And Colin was like, yeah. And so she asked him again. And he was like, yeah. And he was like, I wouldn't think that you would sit there and lie to me in my face for a third time. And he was like, well, no, it's not what you think it is. And he was like, well, I know that you and Leah weren't with Brian. So where were y'all? And he was like, well, basically we dropped Brian off and we went and had dinner. And he didn't really want to say anything about it. So right when he says that and they're talking, Peter comes back in there and he's like, oh, you're dating my sister? And Colin was like, well, she's an adult or whatever. And he was like, basically, like, I don't give a fuck if y'all fucking or not. The problem is she's an addict and you're an addict too, because Colin's a gambling addict and Leah is a pill popper. Be in the back hollering what a pill man is. And so he's like, well, like they start going back and forth about that whole situation. And wait a minute, what happened? Yeah, they're both addicts, so he don't want them to be together or whatever. And so while that is happening, this is when the shit pops off. Brian gets a call from the surgery center, the neurosurgeon that Peter claims that he was talking to when they was at the press conference, and they were like, well, we talked to your brother Peter, and he was like, Brian was like, well, yeah, he told me that I wasn't to get fit for the surgery because the surgery is going to fix his spine and would allow him to have more movement and be able to become a normal person. And so he was like, can you keep me in mind for another operation or something that would help me in the future? And the doctor was like, well, basically like, well, who told you that? And he was like, well, Peter did. He was like, well, no, that's not the case. And then the scene just cuts. So from that, we know that it's a fucking lie. Brian was qualified for the operation. Peter just told them that he wasn't. And it's just like, well, why the fuck would he do that? That fucking I need to be needed kink. So Brian is rightfully upset. The surgery that could change his life and get him out this fucking wheelchair and off these damn crutches to live a normal life. Your brother's sitting here telling you are not qualified for it, and you actually are. Brian starts drinking, and then we cut to him getting in that wheelchair and rolling his ass up to the big house. You ain't never seen him move so fast getting that wheelchair at all. Brian is drunk as fuck and goes into the house. He runs into the door, the outside door, a bunch of times. And I forget who lets him in the house, but this is the same. I think Colin does. This is the same time that they're arguing about Colin fucking Leah, and they let him in. It's like, what the fuck is going on? So he comes into the house yelling and going on and starts running into shit and fucking shit up. And he's basically like, Peter, you need to tell them or I will. And Peter's sitting here acting like a duck and confused, like he don't know what the fuck is going on. And while they're having this whole conversation, Leah comes in at the same time. And so it comes out like Brian's like, you need to tell them that or I will. And fine. Peter's like, well, fine. Brian was qualified for the operation, but I told him that he wasn't qualified for it. And everybody's like, what the fuck? You sitting here lying about this? And he was like, well, you know what? You want all this freedom and stuff, but you didn't think about the fact that any little thing that can happen to you and cause you to be injured, like running into the coffee table again. And I was just thinking about you. And Brian is like, well, what you mean? And he's like, anything can happen to you, can get injured again. And he was like, well, I never said that I ran into the coffee table when this accident happened. He was like, well, yeah, you must have forgot. And he was like, well, no, I don't remember anything about saying that. And if I did, yeah, I would remember saying that, but I don't remember anything about how the accident happened. And you said that you were in the kitchen the whole time. And he was like, well, yeah, I must have saw it from the kitchen. And he was like, well, no, you couldn't have seen me fall from in the kitchen because the layout of our old house, you could have never seen that. And he's like, well, you had to have been in the living room, weren't you? And Peter's like, finally, he tells the truth. He's like, well, yeah, I was in the living room. I was sitting there watching y'all playing, and I was just basically joking, and I stuck my foot out and I tripped you. And that's when the whole shit got fucking started. Leah goes off. So you let this girl believe for 30 something years that she is the reason why the Brian is in a fucking wheelchair. And Peter's like, well, it was just a good excuse for you to have a fucked up life and whatever, some other shit. And it kind of sets everybody off because again, Peter has this needing to be needed kink, I think. Like you did all of this shit and made Leah feel some type of way so she can need you and depend on you. And same thing with Brian. You did all of this shit, for what? Mind you, it's just like all this is happening right before these people are supposed to be coming for this interview. And I don't remember if I didn't say that, but Leah comes back when she comes in the room talking about she's not on drugs. She had took a drug test. And yeah, all this is going on at the same time. And so everybody's rightfully so upset with Peter. And yeah, he gets this dumbass look on his face when he starts telling the truth about what actually happened. And then Leah's like, you're a fucking liar. You're sitting here blaming me for all this shit that's happened. And you're probably the reason why Milo is disappearing. And you're most likely the reason why he's dead. And then Marissa starts yelling. It's like basically everybody shut the fuck up. And I think at that moment, Leah realized what she said and she was most likely sorry. And then Marissa goes, basically, you know what? My favorite thing about Milo is using him as an excuse to send you away, Peter. I didn't need no upholstery cleaner earlier, and I didn't need you to go get no juice when I sent you away from Easter. I wanted to get away from you. So yes, now they most likely are going to get divorced after this, and I need Jenny to take this same energy with Archer, divorce his ass, and Marissa, you need to leave Peter's trifling ass too, because like I said, I think that he has something to do with this. Because right after this, and the interview people from the came and they were knocking on the door, and Marissa got a phone call and said that from the police saying that there was a boy at the police station. And so what we learned from this episode is one, that Peter's a fucking liar, that the accident was all his fault, which is also what I said when they was at episode 2, I think, when they were at the police station. What else? We know that Kyle is dead, so Carrie is still at large. Most likely, I feel like Peter was having an affair with Carrie, aka Josie, because that's her real name. We found out from the lady on the bus. I feel like he was probably having an affair with her. He met her some kind of way, and he was having an affair with her. He has this needing to be needed kink, and clearly they're rich, and she ain't got no fucking money. So he's sitting here taking care of her or whatever, and wanting to be needed by her because that makes him feel good. Because Marissa probably doesn't need him in the same ways that she needed him. Because she said something about that. It's like, you like that about me, needing to be needing me when we first got together. And she was like, I was 26 when that first happened. So he needs that feeling of needing to be needed. So that's probably how he hooked up with Carrie. And he's either having an affair with her, or for some kind of way, I feel like he met her and he's setting this whole situation up as a way to get Marissa to need him in the same way that she needed him from when they were younger. It's either that, but I feel like he has something to do with this. I'm rambling, but I know it's either they're having an affair or he set this up to make Marissa need him in the same way that she needed him when they first got together, some kind of way. And we also need to figure out why Colin is in control of Leah's trust too. I don't remember if I mentioned that in the last video, but Colin is in control of Leah's trust. And he's probably still gambling too. So we need to figure out what's going on with that. I feel like Esther has served her purpose. We talked about in video 4. She gonna be gone. We just got them to connect the dots between Kyle and Carrie. And so I don't feel like she's gonna play any more parts in this. When I thought that something was strange about Brian, we found out that Peter's at fault with his injury. So I don't feel like that's gonna play out much more anyway. We just need to know how Carrie and Kyle are connected and how Carrie is connected to Peter. I think those are the 3 points of this damn triangle. Kyle is dead, but we got the other 2 legs of Carrie and Peter. Because like I said, Carrie is connected to somebody, one of those 5 people at the one of them. That's how she got Mr. Chips, and it's got to be Peter, because everybody else was accounted for. Leah and Colin were together on a date. Brian was at the rehab place. Marissa was with Milo. Peter was getting the juice, but what else did he do while he was out there getting that juice? So yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, all this shit. Let me know what you think. And until next time, I'll see you guys on our recap of episode 6. Peace.